Listo.
Listo? Okay, guys, so good evening. This is George and this is Astrid. We're gonna debate about the globalizations in so many aspects as advantages and disadvantages. So, Astrid, if you wanted to start.
Yes, I am going to say the first and the disadvantage, one disadvantage of the globalization. First, globalization has caused economy without balance for all countries. Example is China, which is a world power with a very high exploitation of his own people. In Colombia, for example, the investment in the raw material is expensive, making the product uh, domestic national price is more expensive than Chinese products. It doesn't matter is if the Colombian products are good quality.
Okay, I see. So yeah, I totally agree with you. There's some products that, I mean, they're expensive and the materials are not good than the products that are in China or in different countries. But there are some aspects that we can take in mind about globalization, as the world has been become so interdependent. So today, the modern communication technology are global standard. So probably that can help, to Colombia to improve a little bit about the the contacts with foreign companies or with domestic companies that can improve, like probably the products or the materials attaching with another companies in a different I don't know, continent.
Yes, is that is true, but the big companies too cause damage in the environment. Uh, for ex- for this reason, globalization has been one of the causes of this exploitation of natural resource without change and renewal by nature or man. The demand for product make us not aware of the damage done to the planet, which give us the essential resource for our life. It is a scenario that is being exposed to, but very late, and the consequence will be inevitably. The underdeveloped countries are the most exploited, but they don't know have the infrastructure and technology to produce without destroying the environment.
Oh, I mean, that's why we're like need to apply the globalization in so many countries in order to like fix those issues, and then we know like wisely how to use the products, how to use the environment, the resources that each country has. So then that won't be any problem anymore, because as I mentioned, the technology is advancing so like so fast. Then if we think wisely, know how to produce with the materials that our countries like provide to us, then that won't be any problem. But also we need to think about the future. I know that that's the present, so probably in the future that's something that will change.
Yes, and something more is employment is seen in both parts because the developed ones are moved by the cheap labor in other countries, and the underdeveloped ones do not invest in education, for example, or labor formation of his people, nor they don't know incentive the purchase of national products, for example, the agriculture in Colombia, etc.
Okay, I see. Because I also think that there are many countries that are looking for new markets and opportunities for cheap production. So probably just don't focus in like something like I don't know what to tell this, like to improve our companies and our culture just in Colombia. probably if we look worldwide, we can like get resources from other countries. And I'm not talking about just materials, probably talking about economy, sociocultural topics or technology that can improve our products and the way that the globalization is going in Colombia.
Yeah. Uh, we're talking about this. What do you think about is specific in Colombia globalization? For example, what do you think about our education in our country?
About the education is something difficult because I think that today the most important thing in Colombia is the education. There is like,
Do you see advantage about education from globalization?
I mean, in that specific case, in that specific topics, like agree with you. At this
Yeah,
moment, is a disadvantages
yeah,
because in Colombia the education is very poor than any other countries in Latin America or even any other continent. So there
yeah.
is something. It's
You're
something
right.
that we need to improve. So in that specific case, I'm like agree with you. There is, I mean, I think that there's not advantages in this moment. We have very good education in like few universities and some, yeah, schools, but there is not enough for
Yeah,
the
yeah. I think
requirement
that
that we need in Colombia.
I think that the first problem is a government, because half the government has mistakenly tried to train the largest number of young people in the schools than suffer from insufficiency and infrastructure and teachers. Situation like this make Colombia in a position far below neighboring countries like Chile, Brazil, Mexico, or Argentina.
That's correct. I
Uh,
mean,
yeah, and it include specializations, master degrees, and doctorates are exercised in the country, making growth impossible in areas of creativity, research, innovation, and value added. And consequently, the country is at a point where these shortcomings live. Uh, uh, in this case, Colombia, I think the future will be destined to be a slave to others who seek and develop this preparation.
yeah, I mean, like not to be a slave, but probably if we improve that part, that's what we need to learn from other countries. But
Yeah.
as you mentioned, the thing is that the government is not a good government here. There's so many corruption, just rich people more money every day, and the poor people is it's more. I mean, even more, even poor than before. So probably if we have like a positive mind, probably there will be an option to learn to have a good education in the country, and then
Yes, but I think we are slave actually for globalization. Uh, Basically, for the Colombian culture, because in companies in Colombia do not have a social commitment to their country. Private sector investment in research is not a priority compared to examples of countries such as the United States, which do 80% of the investment is made by the private sector and 10% is paid by the government. Other example in Europe, companies like Volkswagen, its foundation invests in the publication of books of sociology that give a perspective of the society and perception of the risks, like Eurospeck, who trains of these the universities of Europe. Uh, in conclusion, Colombian companies, sorry, are not interested in growing, but staying in themselves.
yeah, I mean, I think that that is a mistake because as everything is moving on, everything is improving technology, communication, probably companies also have to change. They can to improve. It will be, I think that it will be better if they do. But as you mentioned, we are like stuck because of the corruption, education, everything. So
Yeah. What do you think about Williams? Billy Williams. Uh,
Billy, what? Excuse me?
yeah. Sorry. Learn other language. For example, English, the
Oh,
universal language in Colombia. Uh, is enough the learn in the schools in Colombia?
no,
Because I think no.
no, it's not enough. I mean,
Yeah.
on the schools, there's like basic English, and that's it. I mean, they're not ready to be prepared to have a conversation more than, I don't know, 5 minutes and like a basic conversation. So probably, I mean, that's a problem. The English level is like in 40% that we require, like B1 or B2. So I don't think that in the country the English is very poor. There are so many people that know English. I mean, like perfect English, but the other part, most of the people doesn't like know anything about English. So
Yeah.
I think that it's a point that
Yeah.
we need to take care
That
about
is
it.
yeah. That is very sad because I read the expert says that basically there are documents that are translated into Spanish until 10 years after its first publication about scientific socialist writers. um, is is terrible. I think that the massification of English learning is urgent for Colombia, taking advantage of the internet tool with which we have easy access to free course. For example, Sena will allow with personal without added value to the professional profile of the learner.
That's correct, and that's something that we need to improve. And also that helps to the people that really want to like learn another language or any other subject, that they look for the tools, for the knowledge, they look for the internet for their own tools, and that's probably a good way to learn. But I mean, as I mentioned, it's not enough here in Colombia.
Yeah, but do you see any advantage? Because I think we talk all disadvantage.
Mm,
I don't know because I believe the we have so much disadvantage.
yeah,
I don't see any advantage. I don't see it.
I mean
But
probably.
can be you see.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, there's so few schools and few universities that the level of the education is very good.
Yeah, the
As
education.
Universidad Nacional, Externado, like probably any other schools that probably I mean, the percentage is not very high, but that's something, we started for something. So probably in a few years, with the globalization, probably with people that really love to do what they do, don't be like corrupt politicians or any other thing like that. Probably we can go ahead and take Colombia moving on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it is the universities like Universidad Nacional, the Externado, what you say, uh, can be show the youngest uh, something better. I think so. I hope. I hope.
Yeah, no, I hope I do the same. I hope too.
Yeah. But I think the main key, according to the both aspects, is to change the way of thinking.
Yeah,
Reading more, not be autistic, ignorant, and conformist.
and be lazy. Be lazy. Don't be lazy. Don't be
Yeah,
a lazy person. That'll
Yeah, yeah,
help.
yeah. I need the quickly change to the rethink thinking to of how to live in the diversity. If it
That's correct.
feel, for example, and to thus we think differently without being seen as. Um, in conclusion, I think that the men have the power for the best or for the bad, but
Yeah. I mean,
for
we need to be positive. We need to have a positive mind.
yeah, but
You know, I mean, I
I
know that's difficult, but I think that that's what we follow. I mean, that's the first step. You wake up every day for a motivation, for a goal in your life. So I think that that's the first step.
yeah, exactly. So in conclusion,
Okay. Yeah.
I
In conclusion, I mean, there
I
is a
need,
lot of things
we
that we
need
need to
more
think.
education, more education, more high education. Yeah,
That's the first step. I agree with you.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yes, sweet. So,
Okay, thank you so
I mean,
much, Jorge.
sure, sure, sweet. Have a good night. Bye.
Okay, okay.